Bases dropped on Soccer's morning show. Soccer down here. John here, you there. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Thursday Thoughts. Sorry about 9:06. I was loading things. And this one, we got news of the morning. We've got the magic of the Open Cup, and we'll talk about that. Great to see some folks last night at Apotheos and Chattanooga Red Wolves. We'll get into that. We'll get into all the matchups because we've got a draw 1 o'clock this afternoon. So we'll kind of get you ready for that a little bit. All the news of the morning. Jason with his normal visit. Morning, Alex. And Niko Moreno with his normal visit. So somewhere around 9:30 to 9:30, a half hour, Jason drops by before he's got to go to practice and catch, I guess, double practice. And we'll get into that too, both the women's national team coverage and Atlanta United, and getting ready for NYC and his weekend, which is going to be very, very busy, but very, very cool. And then Niko joins us last half hour of the show to go over things from the Pacific perspective and lays it all out there. Yes, and Ricky, happy 404 day. Ricky making the early salvo this morning. Yes, happy 404 day to all who celebrate. Yes, happy 404 day. So congratulations to all of us who have made it to the 404. We do have a 912. We don't have a 478 or a 470. We did have a 229 this year. So here in the Georgia footprint of SDH, we do have some, but we don't have all of them when it comes to calendars and area codes. But yes, happy 404 day to all who celebrate. So a lot of stuff to get into this morning. Whatever's on your mind, Thursday Thoughts, that's what it's here for. And we will rock and roll through the show this morning. Later today, the makeup games from Tuesday, 5:30 and 7:30. It is from Sonoraville. Maddie Cruz and I will have the Thursday night special on the SDH network and it's a split because of Tuesday's high school games getting washed out because my back patio is still really feeling it. And we are chasing after the water, making sure that it goes away too. But yeah, the back patio is definitely still feeling the effects of Tuesday here in the footprint. And so it is now, instead of it being Calhoun and Sonoraville boys and girls, it is now the Rome girls and the Sonoraville girls at 5:30, followed by Calhoun and Sonoraville boys at 7:30. Tomorrow is where we catch back up with the Calhoun girls as they take on Wesleyan at 4 o'clock on the network. So it is hot and heavy as we get toward the end of the regular season in high school action here in the state of Georgia. We've got this week and we've got next week. Playoffs start, if my math is correct, on the 16th, I believe. So the 16th is when the postseason starts here in the state of Georgia. But we've got 2 matches today and a match tomorrow to wrap up your week. And then the last week of the regular season looking like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So once again, it'll be another 4-match week tomorrow, the 4-day match week tomorrow, next week. But tomorrow and today, 3 matches, 2 days, 5:30, 7:30 today, right there, soccerdownhere.mixler.com. And it is a separate broadcast the way that it is set up on our live platform at Mixler. So when one broadcast goes, then just set your notifications. And then when we go live, because we don't know what the timing is going to be between both matches, then the second match, just set your notifications there. You're triggered. And when we're live, we're live. So it is Rome girls, Sonoraville girls, 5:30, 7:30-ish, Calhoun boys, Sonoraville boys, Calhoun girls, Wesleyan girls tomorrow at 4 on the network. Maddie Cruz and I will have all of them right there at soccerdownhere.mixler.com. And yeah, this was, I mean, Alex, that had completely slipped my mind waiting for July the 70th. Which would really be what? It'd be like September 10th, something where in there. Yeah, July 70th. And Ricky's not wrong. It was fun. Ricky says he couldn't make it to Apotheos last night. It looked like a good atmosphere. You did have some folks that made the trip from Chattanooga, and they were tailgating, and they were loud. So shout out to our friends from Chattanooga that made the road trip. Great to catch up with Sean McDaniel, who was a guest on the show yesterday, drove down and got to see him, got to see some of the other folks in the hierarchy for the Red Wolves, Mitch Martino, who is part of the family there as well, and then getting to watch Apotheos across the board. Speaking of which, and this is kind of an opening kickoffy kind of thing, you had to be paying attention, and Jason was. Jason was paying attention last night. He was watching the match because he was studying for the weekend that is going to be for him and for Jess and for Mike, for She Believes and for Atlanta United. This was an interesting thing, and shout out to our friend Ross Davenport, who was, he was on color last night with David Gascon, and this moment happened early in the match last night. And like I said, and you had to kind of catch it. And Jason was like, "Hey, this happened." And so this happened last night, courtesy of our friends at US Soccer, Ross Davenport, David Gascon, describing what it's like to track down the Apotheos coach on social media. So this is what happened last night.
You could follow him on Twitter at Johnny Markets 11.
Johnny Markets.
It's a good name.
What a great nickname. Love it.
It's not bad. I'm always down for that. How often do you hear that with a head coach on social media? Johnny Markets.
Yeah, he was on Soccer Down Here podcast, and very interesting to hear his thoughts as being a first-time head coach at this level, at the adult level. He's done some stuff at the high school and youth level. But yeah, we don't really know much about this squad. A lot of locals from the Clayton State, Georgia Gwinnett College as well. Guys that play together before, that's a key thing, right?
And it was. But win last night for Chattanooga Red Wolves. So, yeah, Ross Davenport with the SDH drop on the broadcast last night. So, this is not the first time that Ross has drifted into the SDH atmosphere when it comes to his on-air knowledge and persona.
Yeah, all the action at the Fraction has been one way, unfortunately.
You see? I mean, so that was Ross. That was Ross Davenport when he was describing action with Atlanta United 2. So he's got our action at the Fraction, and then he dropped the show last night when he was describing what it was like to get studied up for Apotheos. So shout out to Russ Davenport. Yes, well, Ricky, we already are syndicated. For those of you that don't know, we are on our friends at the Fired Up TV network up in Canada. So after this is over on the live side of things, we take the show and send the file to Canada, and it's on Fired Up Network on True TV Plus. And so it airs middle of the afternoon. So if you miss us live, or you don't want to listen to the audio and you want to actually see what happened, you can go to True TV Plus, download the app, and it's on the Fired Up TV network in the middle of the afternoon, traditionally Monday through Friday. So the live turns into tape on Fired Up, and it's on True TV Plus. You can, like I said, you can download the app on your smart TVs, and you can watch us there. So this you can watch there. So, but yeah, it was kind of a fun night. It was a fun night, and that was a funny moment last night on the broadcast with Apotheos and Red Wolves. So across the board last night, as we get into opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code. For those of you who are watching, however you are watching us, whether it is on Twitch, the 280-character app, or on the YouTubes, don't forget when you use Kickoff Coffee and you go to kickoffcoffeeco.com, use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives, and cool stuff that they have come across. And that is what you do when you use the code SoccerDownHere15 at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, so let's get into what happened last night in Open Cup. And it was an early start for the tournament last night. It had a 6 o'clock start in Central Florida, as you ended up with Miami United, who finished with 10. They beat Club de Leon out of Niza. It was at the UPSL Stadium in Pembroke Pines, Florida. Win that one 2-0. Tormenta beats Savannah Clovers by the final of 4-0. So Tormenta advances, and they've got to get ready for their match on the weekend in USL League One. So it was a slow start for Tormenta. 1-0 after a while. I think it was 1-0 at the break. They finish up at 4. One Knox and Greenville Triumph was probably one of the matches of the night. and that had to go to the extra 30. Greenville Triumph gets the goal in the second extra period. They beat One Knox by the score of 3-2. Carolina Core, who stayed in New England after their matchup against Revs 2, they stayed in New England, went to Burlington, Vermont, got the win 2-1, and celebrated in an absolute downpour. And I mean, if you were watching the Weather Channel this morning, you're seeing that really everything in the Northeast, you've got a nor'easter going on, and it's craziness, and there's no school. And it started late last night after the match literally ended. Carolina Core gets the win over Vermont Green by the score of 2-1. We mentioned Red Wolves and Apotheos. Red Wolves got a goal second half. It was scoreless at the break. Get a goal in the second half. They end up with a 1-0 win. Chicago Fire 2 knocks off Forward Madison. Not our Madison, but Forward Madison, the Mingos. So Fire 2 beats the Mingos 2-0 at SeatGeek. The veteran experiment is over as Union Omaha, Los Bujos, Murder Owls, they beat Des Moines Menace last night 3-1 in Omaha. Took a little while, but Northern Colorado Hailstorm and our friend Amon Zayed in League One, they beat Rapids 2 at Dick's Sporting Goods Park along with the Rabid Prairie Dogs. So Hailstorm wins 3-2. Irvine Zeta beat Ventura County, basically Los Dos, 3-0 at Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson. And Spokane Velocity beat LA Force out of Nisa 1-0. So that is what happened last night. So you combine that with Richmond, Charlotte, Independence, NYCFC2, who won the little brother version of the Hudson River Derby, Lubbock Matadors, Michigan Stars, and our favorite burrito restaurant in the Bay Area, El Farolito, knocking off Central Valley Fuego 2-1. Draws at 1 o'clock this afternoon. So we get to see what the next steps are in U.S. Open Cup. After having played on the 2nd and the 3rd, it is now the 3rd round of the 16th and the 17th. So 2 weeks from yesterday. So 16th and the 17th is the new round of the U.S. Open Cup for 2024. So round 3, 16, 17 draws this afternoon at 1 o'clock Eastern time. So we'll see where the draw is. And, is it in the studio, and do they get folks to help you draw, or what it's going to look like? But yeah, 1 o'clock this afternoon is the draw for round 3 in U.S. Open Cup. But yes, the magic of the cup. Last night, you end up with games going more than 90 minutes. You end up with teams that stayed on the road, winning on the road. You end up with teams that are getting out there really for the first time, having to play an Open Cup. And you end up with USL League One teams both winning and losing, taking the extra 30s, and some NISA teams advancing as well. So that's what it looks like. So keep an eye out on your favorite social medias. 1 o'clock this afternoon is going to be the draw for round 3 in U.S. Open Cup. But Shooter, once again, is not happy. We also have the CONCACAF Champions League Hemispheric Extravaganza to talk about last night. And what happened there was no Messi, no party. So it was and friends, and Robert Taylor ends up getting injured as well. Don't have any report on the extent of his injuries, but it was a 1-0 lead for Messi and friends last night, as Messi was in street clothes in South Florida as they were going up against Monterrey. Then David Ruiz looked like he ended up getting 3 yellow cards, but he ends up getting 2 and being removed in a 4-minute span. So you go from 1 goal up and 11v11 to a man down, and eventually losing by the score of 2-1. And now you've got to go to Monterrey next week and try to salvage something there. So that one's going to be a bit of a tall order. And then the late match last night was with our friends from Herediano, and Herediano and Pachuca were to play like 10 o'clock last night at the National Stadium. And so you had that one up there at 10 o'clock as well last night. So Jarrett drops by, and we're in opening kickoff, and we were discussing the magic of the Open Cup last night. And I have yet to discuss how do we phrase this? How wildly gesticulated you were last night.
Yeah, apparently I was drawing ire. It's like It's like the representative from sitting at the 50-yard line at Silverbacks Park. Hey man, it was a Magic at the Cup. You had a weird game between one team that struggled to hold leads this year. They did win 1-0 against a team that hasn't played a game this year because their first game got canceled because the team they were supposed to be playing may or may not exist, and then like a day ago rebranded.
And they're supposed to be playing in that same barn. Eventually.
Yeah, in the same supposed to be playing on the same field.
Yes.
Yeah. So Tyler Pilgrim and I were sitting there watching the game being like, you know what? Apotheos has some good ideas here. But it was their first game, and it was very clear that it was their first game because you'd see some sequences, you're like, I see what you're trying here. This looks like it could be fun. It did not come off because you have not played a game at full speed against another opponent yet in a true game situation. And they still almost scored a goal at the death.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone hated the official afterward. It was true Open Cup fun.
Absolutely.
The only thing more fun was seeing the Murder Owls of Union Omaha thank the MLS Retired 11 brought to you by the AARP for coming to their house and getting their faces absolutely smashed against the curb.
Mm-hmm.
Look, y'all wanted to roll up in there and decided that you wanted to make it a gimmick with a bunch of former professionals. Well, Murder Owls don't take prisoners.
No,
Don't know if y'all didn't know that.
Just ask
Murder
Adrian.
Owls don't take prisoners.
Ask Adrian Heath.
It'd have been more funny if Adrian Heath had shown up, honestly.
Yeah. And but yeah, so last night it was Roger Espinoza, AJ De La Garza, Ewan Holden, Stewart's brother.
Mm-hmm.
It was Brian Rowe and Sasha Kleshtin wearing the captain's armband for the Des Moines Menace, and the general manager Charlie Bales was on the bench.
Yeah, it was a lot, and then they, like I said, then they got their teeth kicked in.
Mm-hmm.
Let that be a lesson to you.
Yes. So you enter the tournament and its perils at your own pacing.
Yes,
level.
Correct.
So, and the other final, the late one, Solomon Rondon hat trick for Pachuca, 5-0 winners over Herediano at the National Stadium in Costa Rica.
Yeah, there's a lot to take away from the whole sequences of events last night, and honestly, through the entire the entire Copa Champions, Conca Champions this last few days. My favorite of them being, I think Kim McCauley said, which was after Aiden Morris got sent off. Like, basically, like, I need Columbus to get that one more goal that we know they can get so they can have a 2-1 lead when they go to Mexico, so they can have that sliver of optimism before they lose a 4-0 game in Mexico, because we'd all seen that script before.
Yes.
Instead, they played to a 1-1 draw. God only knows what Cucho Hernandez's situation is. Last time we checked, he was at the zoo on a Saturday game day. We're like, maybe they're saving him for the next game. Maybe not.
No.
It might just be an issue that, like, trouble in paradise kind of situation. And then now you don't have Aiden Morris. So have fun, Columbus.
Well,
good luck.
And then Aiden Morris decided to pull the Miazga height joke on Diego Lainez, apparently.
Yeah, he's like, Aiden Morris, like 5'10". As a resident tall person, that height joke works when you clear 6 feet. It's funny in a different way, but also Aiden Morris feels like it almost feels like a try hard joke at that point. But whatever. Aiden Morris is 5'10". It's a different kind of joke, but like Aiden Morris is like actively getting sent off at that point. Maybe actively getting sent off in a Conca Champions match isn't the time to start firing off your A-list material. That's not the time to break out a tight 5, bud.
Save a joke.
And then Miami, like, signs Messi because Messi's still recovering.
Yes.
Has to roll out there and get a lead and then decide that lead was just too much luxury for them.
Yeah.
And as we were walking out last night, we mentioned it.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the inevitable Brandon Vasquez Conca Champions winner?
Oh.
And the only people who are going to be more unready for it than Atlanta fans are going to be Cincinnati fans.
Yeah.
Because while Cincinnati's top of the East, it's the defense doing the work, and their defense is fantastic. They ain't scoring a lot of goals right now. And I'm looking forward to like Brandon Vasquez just absolutely lighting everyone up like a Christmas tree in Conca Champions in the next few rounds, just out of spite.
Yeah, that's so we will see what the new match after the second legs. We'll see how the new layout is and what the grid is looking like for Brandon Vasquez. But yes, no Messi, no party. Hutch is asking if the Messi is broken.
I don't know if he's broken or if they're they're kind of in that situation where they're like, we don't want to risk him. Because if you lose him for a couple games, that's fine.
Yeah.
You lose him for more than that, and your problems escalate incredibly so.
Mm-hmm. Both on the field and off the field.
Yeah. Marketing gets interesting, and the Messi and Friends train, like only that train only stops at so many stations. So
yeah,
good luck.
And I mean, he was asked in a press conference earlier this week about the whole "how long are you going to play" thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, as long as I'm healthy and I feel good, then I'm going to keep playing. So, I don't know if the extent of this injury is giving him pause or second thoughts or anything like that. And everybody,
I think he'll be fine. I don't want to. I will never speculate on Messi walking away until Messi is fully gone.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So
until the paperwork is signed,
yes,
and we see him like sitting on a beach somewhere, I will never assume that he's actually retired.
Asking for a Michelob Ultra?
No, he's going to drink mate. I think if you gave Messi a Michelob Ultra, he might stab you.
Well, I mean, I don't believe we do. I don't believe we see him actually take a sip of said drink in any of the commercial content.
Yeah, because he has. Man. All right, I'm not going to say anything more just on the off chance that Michelob Ultra wants to give us money at one point.
True. That's true. Ours is like, what? You mean DP's impact team's production that much? What? What?
Yeah, you know who's learning that right now? Toronto.
Yeah.
Because Toronto was missing a DP against Sporting Kansas City, sure. And it certainly looked like they were missing one of their two guys. Because once again, Toronto's game plan when they go behind appears to be it's from the movie. I think it was Just for Kicks or a Kicking and Screaming. Okay. It was the Will Ferrell movie Kicking and Screaming, where he becomes his kid's soccer coach.
Okay.
And he actually gets Mike Ditka to help out at one point, which is about as unhinged as it sounds.
Ditka.
And as he does that, the team gets these two Italian kids on the team.
Yeah.
And so the philosophy just becomes like, get the ball to the Italian brothers. That is the Toronto philosophy right now of who fit down the field, who fit. And then let the Italians do things. And when one of the Italians wasn't there the other night, it was kind of hit and miss. But yeah, DPs actually matter. And good DPs matter and bad DPs matter, as we've seen here and elsewhere. Like when you're not getting anything out of your DPs, you're going to have a bad day.
Yes, that is absolutely true. And John Herdman actually shook Peter Vermee's hand, by the way.
Yeah, whatever. Don't care anymore.
Oh, it's like the time has passed, and now
don't care anymore.
Now we're going to be keeping track of who John Herdman shakes hands with and who he doesn't.
Okay.
I know we'll make a list, and we'll have we'll have a tote board when it comes to John Herdman and everything. Shooter is apparently hating life in the Northeast. He says,
"Yeah,
the Northeast sucks."
Somebody said the other day who lives in Connecticut, they're like, this time of year is great in Connecticut, and you could sense the sarcasm dripping off the message. Where it was like this time of year where it's still cold, like it's winter, but it's not snowing anymore. It just rains every day.
Yes.
So it's like 35 degrees and raining every day.
That is true. And right now you've got that nor'easter, and no one's going to school in Maine. So Shooter is stuck with the last, I guess, nor'easter of the year, January, February, March, April 4th.
Yeah, good friends of ours actually just moved to Vermont, and I think last fall they moved out there. And so far that's been the consensus, is like they're like, it's really nice here, and then winter happened, and then it was like. They were sending videos back. I was like, oh, that's a legitimate snowdrift.
Yes.
That's not like a little bit of snow. That's a legitimate snowdrift. And good luck.
Yes.
I try to be careful, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Hutch is like time to tap the trees for the syrup. Yeah, we do. And
they literally sent us a gift basket of syrup related items. It's a thing that happened.
Okay. That's interesting. Then I would be concerned about the syrup in and of itself being preserved and staying in its syrupy state.
Well, but it was like syrup things, like syrup flavored candy, syrup flavored treats, like a syrup lollipop that my daughter was all about. And then like some like genuine like Vermont maple syrup, that kind of thing. Speaking of Vermont, you want to talk about what happened to Vermont Green last night?
Yep. Hang on just a second. So let's see. That was opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget to use the QR code right there. Gets you into everything Kickoff Coffee. And then use the code Soccer Down Here 15. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvested into things, youth initiatives and youth programs that they have earmarked themselves. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. The magic of the cup, Vermont and Carolina, go.
Magic of the cup, Vermont and Carolina. Carolina Core. Carolina Core went up to Vermont and ruined the day of one of I think a couple people outside of just here like had some fun with Vermont Green in their second first round win. Carolina Core were not moved by this, and they won 2-1 up in Vermont in what was basically a giant storm. So that was fun to watch.
Yes, and they like waited until like the instant the match was over, and then the giant storm happened, and Carolina Core got to celebrate in the rain. They are flying back today.
God was clearly upset.
Yes,
Vermont Green losing.
Yes, and so looks like Monday on tape we're going to catch up with Roy Lassiter, and Monday's going to be pretty busy with Abe and with Bart, hopefully, and this is, I guess, my bolo to slide Bart up to 9:30 because signal permitting, we'll be down at the groundbreaking of the National Training Center, and so we'll have some guests at 10 o'clock. And so I think Maddie will be in charge on Monday, and so we'll have guests if we can get a signal out, and it's decent bars. We should have guests at 10 o'clock, and so it'll be a fun day. So we'll be kind of on the air, and then we'll be at the National Training Center groundbreaking. It's 11 o'clock Monday morning is when the groundbreaking is. But getting up at the crack of before dawn to get down there into the parking lot to make sure everything's fine and see if we have a cell signal and see what happens there. But do not be surprised if you end up seeing a lot of trees starting, say, 9:05 or so on Monday morning. So I don't know if it's open to the public, Abby. I really don't. I know that there is going to be a platform, and I'm guessing a ribbon cutting and a ceremony with folks. But I do not know if it is open to the public. I do know that I have to give my name when I go into the parking lot earlier than when the parking lot.
We always have to do that.
Yes.
Anytime we go to the training ground, they want our names.
Yes, and then you get to go behind the wall and let everybody know what's going on. We've got our announcer assignments for match day 8, and a lot of 7:30. So our buddy Kevin Egan is going to be very, very busy early on Saturday night. So in Cincinnati, it's Kanji and Danny for Cincinnati and Red Bulls. Neil Sika, Lori Lindsay. So Sika gets a home game with Columbus Crew and DC United. El Trafico, got that in before Jason came on. It is Jake and TT, Keith Costigan and Mo are in Miami for Colorado and Miami. It is Chris Whittingham and Lloyd Sam for the Revs and Charlotte. Callum and Kalen are going to be doing NYC and Atlanta United. And now that we have mentioned the national crew, let's talk to somebody who's going to be very, very busy this week and has been busy this week. Jason, what is up?
Not much. What's going on? I didn't mean to bust through the wall again. I don't know why it does that.
No, but actually your timing
Live
was
your best
perfect
life.
because we were going through the match day assignments, and you actually did it right at the time when we were discussing who the broadcast team was for Apple TV. It's going to be Callum and Kalen on the Apple TV side. You, sir, that is the end of your day on Saturday, is racing up to Citi Field.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty crazy. It's been a pretty crazy week of prep so far, trying to get up to speed on everything with the Japanese women's national team, the U.S. women's national team, and New York City. Luckily, I know one of the teams really well, so it's been a lot.
And I wanted to kind of pull the curtain back a little bit to let folks know about how crazy this week has been for you, because you have spent as many waking moments as humanly possible up at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, looking at Atlanta United, looking at the women's national team, spending time with the women's national team. I know that there's other ancillary events that are attached to She Believes Cup. I mean, how many pieces of paper and notebooks and everything are you going through here to get ready for 3 of the 4 teams that you're going to be broadcasting on the weekend?
Yeah, it's a lot, but I mean, look, this is why we do this, right? This is what we sign up for. It's exciting because it's a national team match. It's exciting because there's a very good chance that it'll be a record attendance at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for it. It's exciting that we're broadcasting a U.S. women's national team match on 92.9 The Game, and when that opportunity presented itself, I said whatever it takes. And whatever it takes is doing 2 games in one day with a flight in between and then a flight home. And I might not know my name on Sunday, but look, that's what it is. It should be a really good game Saturday afternoon. I mean, that's the other element to this is you flash back to the Women's World Cup. You know, both of these teams were eliminated by Sweden. Japan, after demolishing Spain, who eventually won the tournament, Japan was seen coming out of the round of 16 as a team that could win the tournament. They ended up coming up short against Sweden, but they play a really interesting game. Futoshi Ikeda, their manager, he's very adaptable. You know, they dominated possession in the first 2 games in the group stage, and then they had, I think, 23% of the possession against Spain. They scored on their first 3 touches inside the 18. You know, like, this is the team that's very adaptable. And me, you know, being the nerd that I am when we get into tactics and that kind of stuff, I'm fascinated to see how it plays out against the U.S. team that showed some adaptability in the W Gold Cup. You know, we saw them pressing in a way that we haven't really seen in the past. So that tactical battle is going to be a lot of fun. And then we get to Citi Field and we see if Atlanta United can get a win on the road against the team that I feel like they should beat on the road. It's not easy. It's never easy on the road in this league, but this is a game that you should go in and have a ton of confidence in getting a win.
Jarrett, go for it.
Yeah, and let's talk about that game on the road that's going to take place Saturday night. What are you looking at as far as a key matchup for Atlanta United that they have to exploit?
I think it's the wide play, just because New York City has been a team that has kind of floated back and forth between playing a 4-man back line and 3 center backs, and they haven't really settled on where to put their talented guys. You know, Santiago Rodriguez has played a little bit of everywhere for this team. He's played as a 9, he's played as a 10, he's played as a winger. They've looked like a 3-4-2-1 at times. They've looked like a 4-3-3 at times. So there's a lot of unknown on the NYC side, but I think where Atlanta United will be able to find space, because all that unknown with NYC, they have James Sands and Keaton Parks in the midfield, and that's a very good midfield duo that it's going to make it difficult to play through that portion of the field. So, okay, go around it. I think that's what they ended up doing really well against Chicago, where they found the space wide and they exploited it. So, you know, is that Saba? Is that Shande, the wingers being those focal points? Is it Brooks Lennon getting forward? Is it the duo on the right? Is it the later runs out of Caleb Wiley? There's a lot of different ways to do that, but I think the wide spaces are going to be so key for Atlanta at Citi Field. Now, they're not that wide. That's one thing to keep in mind. Maybe a yard or 2 wider than Yankee Stadium, but not a lot. So I think it's the interplay in those situations, like especially Lennon and Lobjanidze combining in those spaces to try to draw defenders in and play around them.
Going back to the Chicago match and getting to see what Jamal can do as a striker, I thought that it was. I mean, obviously, necessity had to bring Jamal in, but what was it like for you and Mike upstairs to see Jamal, who seems to be a guy that is a rhythm guy? You get him out there, you get him fed, he gets that first one, and he continues to go and go and go. What was it like for you and Mike, and for you to look at it from on high, to see Jamal get untracked and get those two back last weekend?
I was just so happy for him. I mean, it was his birthday, first off, to get 2 goals on your birthday. Maybe won't happen again, like that's just it's a special day. And for a guy who has had a lot of bad luck during his time here in Atlanta with concussion, with injury, stop-start nature of it, it's been hard for him to find that rhythm. So it's good to see, a week and a half after you bring in Daniel Rios. And Rios is going to be competing for time there. So TRA is able to take advantage of the opportunity where Rios was injured, and now he's back in training. And now you've got competition for minutes behind Yorgos Yakimakis. Competition is a great thing, and you need it at every spot on the field, even in situations where, yes, Yorgos is your starter at number 9. We know that. But when you've got a guy like TRA that's playing with confidence behind him, when you've got Daniel Rios who's going to be pushing him, that means that Yorgos will get pushed. And that's a good thing. You need that competition from man 1 to man 30 on the roster, and in below that with the 2s and the academy guys mixing in. You need competition. I think TRA responded to it really well.
Jared, go for it.
Speaking of competition and players coming back, I want to talk about your goalkeeper in the old man himself. You brought in a goalkeeper for competition, but as much as I know people have talked about that, I maintain personally there's still some of this for Brad Guzan. It's a year, almost 2 years now past injury, and we've talked a lot about the mental aspect of coming back from an injury, as well as the fact that he came back from blown Achilles in damn near record time. But how many flowers do we want to give Brad Guzan for work he's done this year with the ball at his feet, with the ball stopping, and just looking honestly like he's 2 or 3 years younger than he actually is right now?
You need to buy the florist out and give him all the flowers, and that's what needs to happen. And there's been a lot of experts, a lot of so-called experts, a lot of loud voices with megaphones who have said a lot of things about Brad Guzan that have been so unfair and just flat out so incorrect. Yeah, he deserves every bit of every flower you can give him. He's been that good. And as I said, coming into the season, what Brad gives you beyond the saves, beyond the distribution with the ball, which he's been very good in, beyond dealing with crosses, beyond all of that stuff, he gives you leadership. He gives you communication out of the back. Those are things that there's not many people in this league that are even close to what he gives you in those areas. And those areas are vital. I think a lot of people pointed at save percentage last year, and that's just an awful stat for a goalkeeper because it doesn't factor in where shots are coming from. It doesn't factor in XG being, flawed as it is. XG doesn't tell you everything, but it doesn't factor that in. It's simply how many saves did you make out of how many shots you faced. Atlanta United defensively last year, to drill it down really simply, Atlanta United didn't give up a ton of shots, but they gave up a lot of bad shots. And that's going to affect the save percentage. It doesn't tell you everything you need to know. There's a lot of things about the goalkeeper position that are not statistically recorded. And there's a lot of things about the fit for a player in a team that cannot be quantified by stats. And Brad has been excellent in both. And he was treated unfairly last year in, whatever you want to call it, message board, social media, what have you. Some of the national media as well. I think it was very unfair, and he is answering every bit of those critics. So if that's going to be very loud on one side, it better be loud the other way. And he should be getting into match day, team of the match days and things like that. And I don't know why he's not. And it's very unfair that it's loud one way and not loud the other way. Give that man his flowers.
How many more minutes do we have you?
Not quite 10.
Okay. So you mentioned Brad and communication. The immediate line in front of Brad that he's communicating with includes Noah Cobb and has for the last couple of matches. And Noah and Derek Williams, they seem to be pretty much in a really good rhythm right now. Noah being parachuted in because of the injury to Steon Gregerson. Noah and Derek, what's when you look at those two center backs and what they've been able to do here over the last handful of matches? Noah once again just fitting right in and becoming more and more comfortable there.
Yeah, I think for Noah, it was very cool to catch up with him after the game for our post-game interview on 92.9 The Game, and Derek echoed it as well. You know, Noah saying that was the first win that he's been part of for the first team. Not even clean sheet, just the first win. And, you know, the performance and the team performance, it helps him feel like he has more confidence in belonging at this level. And I think Derek Williams kind of, echoed that with saying he belongs at this level. Noah's a full first team professional at this stage. I think we can stop looking at him as a second team player who is helping out. He's a first team player. Will he play some for the second team this year? Yeah, he will, because he's going to need some minutes. He's going to need games. You got to continue that development. He can't be sitting on the bench all the time, just waiting to be called upon. But he showed that when he is called upon, he can do the job. And he had a couple of plays on Sunday that went beyond just getting the job done to me. And where I think he's going to make the biggest next jump in his career is going to be that ability on the ball, because he's got it. That's a confidence thing. He picked out Giacomakis with a pass that it felt like, to go with an American football analogy here, it felt like the young quarterback who makes that next progression to, I've got the simple play, I've got the check down, I've got 10 yards, but there's an option down there for 30. If I can squeeze it in, I'm going to take it. And he did. And it was really impressive to see. That's one of those that stuck in my brain after it happened and after the game, that, all right, we're seeing that increased confidence from him, and he earned it. He earned the spot. It's Gregerson was injured, and injuries happen, and we've seen them over the years, and it's a next man up mentality. But if that next man up isn't ready, then you go to the next one. Well, right now you don't have to, because Noah's been ready and he showed it. He had a great preseason and he's continued to build on it.
And I want to ask about actually one of the subs you made in the game. And it's a guy who's actually a part of that, who's fighting for minutes. Luis Abraham's been trying to get minutes, and I feel like it's not even a matter of him not being good. Guys are taking minutes and taking those opportunities. But in what he gave you when he comes on in that game, and not every situation is going to be the same. But what all does he give you in those moments where he's able to come on in kind of a left back role and provide some of that defensive stability that the team has really showed early in the season?
Yeah, he's a pro, and Luis Abraham was beaten out for the starting spot by Derek Williams, the two left-footed center backs on the side. And you could have played Derek and Luis together with Gregerson out. One of them would have had to move over to the right. With Noah's emergence and performances, you didn't have to figure that part out. What Luis gives you is a steady, trusted hand who is very, very good on the ball, to come off the bench in two spots now. He can play as that left-sided center back for Williams, and he can also play as a left back in those kind of moments. You're not going to bring him in at left back to go chase the game, but if you're going to get to a point where Caleb has run and run and run, and you're protecting a lead, you can use Luis in that role to play as a left back, which, he's going to flare out wide, and he's got that left foot, and he's a good passer, but he's not going to make long overlapping runs. He's going to stay home a little bit more because you're protecting a lead, and he gives you a little bit of the center back mentality as a left back tucking in. So that's a nice extra little piece that will come in handy at times this season.
Any update on injuries and dings? Because I know that the biggest one everybody was focused on early in the week was Yorgos Giacomakis. He had an MRI. The team said he was day-to-day. Any other updates on anybody else?
No, nothing else. We might hear today when Gonzalo Pineda speaks to the media in around an hour and a half, 2 hours or so. And we'll see what happens. But yeah, I haven't heard anything else and haven't seen anything else from Tuesday when we had access to the full session.
I'm going to ruin your day and take it back and take your order of operations away. As far as the She Believes Cup, can you want to pick out a hipster player, a young American hipster player? Actually, it doesn't have to be American. Be a Japanese, I don't care. A young player that people need to keep an eye on if they want to go to their friends and be smug about it.
Yeah, I'll give you 2 players. One for the U.S., Sam Coffey.
Jason?
I'm here. I don't know what happened there. All right.
So Sam Coffey.
Sam Coffey for the U.S. Great holding midfielder. Of course, I'm going to pick the holding midfielder.
Yes.
I think she is a player that, look, she's not going to score a ton of goals. She's got it in her. She's got assists in her. But she's going to be that stabilizing factor that, honestly, you go back to the times, and we talked about it at the last World Cup, where you needed Julie Ertz in that holding midfield to stabilize the midfield, and you didn't have it because you needed to play her at center back. Coffey can give you that stabilizing presence in the midfield, which is needed with all the different attacking weapons. And the other thing that I'll give you on the U.S. that I think is interesting is Mallory Swanson has been playing more as a 10 with Chicago than as an out-and-out 9 or winger. That gives you the ability to potentially go with a starting lineup of Shaw or Smith or Rodman, 2 of the 3 wide, Morgan as the 9, as the focal point, where she's a little bit more of that facilitator that we've seen her evolve into. And then Swanson as the 10, who plays it a lot like a second forward, making overlapping runs of Morgan. And that attacking diamond could be fascinating. I don't know if we'll see it here. I don't know if that's something that Emma Hayes will have potentially in mind for the Olympics, but Swanson's ability as more of a 10, that's an interesting wrinkle. On the Japan side, Hinata Miyazawa, who was the Golden Boot winner at the last World Cup, 5 goals in 5 games, and she's not really a 9. She's back from injury. She made the move to Manchester United after the last World Cup, after her success. I'm excited to see how Japan uses her and how they fit the pieces around. Do we see them? They're not a super high pressing team, but do we see them play the 3-4-3 or 3-4-2-1 that I thought they looked best in at the World Cup? They have experimented here lately with a line of 4, with some flexibility in it, with the holding midfielder dropping in to create the third center back, not just in build-up play, but if they're under pressure. So I want to see how Japan kind of moves the pieces around. But for the U.S., Coffey gives you the stability. Swanson gives you the ability to do something very different with your attack. I'm excited to see what Twyla Kilgore, and maybe a little by proxy Emma Hayes, has in mind to use the She Believes Cup for.
Broadcast plans for all the Saturday Madness, sir?
Oh, it's madness. Noon on 92.9 The Game for U.S.-Japan Women's She Believes Cup pregame. Kickoff, I believe, is set for 12:36. 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app. You can listen either way. Very, very short post game, essentially a segment, because Jess and I will have to hightail it to the airport. Her flight's before mine. She'll get to Charlotte in plenty of time. I'll get to New York. 7:08 is when the flight is scheduled to land.
Oh boy.
2.6 miles away is Citi Field. By the time I land, the Five Stripes Countdown will already be underway on Star 94. Don't forget, we're Star 94 this weekend. Odyssey app as well. And kickoff is set for 7:40. So keep your fingers crossed that I'm getting from the gate to the curb in the 15 minutes they say it takes. And then it's 5 minutes to Citi Field. I mean, it's right there. So
Yeah.
should be good to get into the booth right at kickoff.
Oh, somebody better have your pass waiting for you right at the press gate, brother. That's going to be.
That's the part that I'm the most worried about because we've never been to Citi Field. So we will see.
Oh, goodness. All right. Well, go enjoy practice today. Keep learning, and we will be listening, and we'll be watching. We'll be following along. Be safe, my friend. Enjoy your stuff today.
Adios, y'all.
That's Jason. And Jason is Jarrett. That is going to be crazy.
Somebody should document it for the team. We'll see if they do.
Oh, I think that I'd love for Jason to try and document the thing.
He might die first. Like,
well,
he's gonna like run himself into the ground.
Yeah,
we might just have to admit the fact that, like, hey, Jason's gonna kind of be on his own here, and we're gonna have to keep Jason alive and protect Jason from Jason.
Yes. Well, and if there is a team, a production team that is tied to social media that can put something together about all this madness, the Atlanta United folks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, brother. That, if they told Jason to sit there, it's like, dude, we need you to like take home videos, do home movies the whole time and send it to us and keep us posted on everything. They can piece it together and do something that would be like 2 minutes and 15 seconds, 2:30. That would be an absolute riot.
Yep.
Let's see. So other thoughts from you before you go, because I know you turn into a real world person in 3 minutes.
Yeah. Nothing really, honestly. It's I guess get yourself ready for a very busy weekend. Enjoy the Open Cup when you get it, because especially if you can go watch an Open Cup game in person, because they're weird. Always have fun with them, please.
Yeah.
And it's okay to laugh at Des Moines Menace, because again, we want to take Open Cup seriously, but also, like, we have to be real careful about how we draw the line with gimmicks.
Mm-hmm.
You can, if you want to do something to promote, to like get people out, that's fine, but then you got to be careful about telling people to take things seriously, and then you don't always take things seriously. So just find that balance.
Yes. So, and Justin Mirren playing for Michigan Stars, part of that whole process. And there goes Jarrett. So, Niko Moreno joining us in about a half an hour. So, whatever's on your mind as we go, and we'll catch up with what is going on around the planet. We got all the news of the morning and getting you ready for everything there. Once again, getting you close to hour number 2 as the clock almost turns 10 here in the East. Reminder, once again, 5:30, 7:30 tonight, and thanks to our friends at Calhoun Football for doing the tip of the hat promotion. It is Calhoun boys, Sonoraville boys at 7:30, preceded by the Rome girls and the Sonoraville girls. That is on the live platform over at Mixler, soccerdownhere.mixler.com. And then once again, tomorrow, 4 o'clock at Calhoun, Wesleyan at Calhoun. We'll bring you that one as well. And once again, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, getting you toward the end of the regular season. We're getting as many matches as we can. And I was doing the math, and I've got the sheet right here from when we wanted to do the initial schedule. And it was 3, 6, 9, 10, 3, 6. So we had an original grid of 28. We had a 28-day schedule. A 28-day schedule when it comes to our high school platform. And once again, thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente at KP Georgia on the social medias as well. When it comes to promoting this, Reverb by Hard Rock, Alliance Nurse Corps, our friends at Hat-Trick Football Agency, and all of our Subaru of Gwinnett, all of our sponsors that have helped us out. 28 locations on the grid. So that means that you're looking north of 50 matches that we've had this season on our schedule. And that's just regular season. So by the time our schedule will be completed, we will have been pushing about 60 games on the high school side on the SDH network. And so we can't thank our sponsors enough for all of their backing. Can't thank y'all enough for all of your backing, all of this stuff. We couldn't do it without you guys and y'all wanting to hear about what's going on in high school soccer here in this part of the world, and having the Baylor School on. And that was really cool. And being outside getting folks outside the state to be a part of this as well. So very, very cool stuff there. Once again, 5:30, 7:30 today on soccerdownhere.mixler.com. And then also tomorrow at 4, once again, it is soccerdownhere.mixler.com is the live platform. They're archived there as well. So if you don't catch it live, you can catch it later. And it'll be Maddie and I will be calling the matches today and tomorrow, with Jason doing She Believes Cup stuff and Atlanta United stuff. So it's me and Maddie today and me and Maddie tomorrow. Maddie and I, Maddie and me. It's me tomorrow. Maddie and me. Okay. Yeah, Maddie and me. All right. So there you go. So we're pushing about 60 matches by the time the schedule's done when it comes to the high school stuff. But right there, that's your live platform on Mixler.com, soccerdownhere.mixler.com. And you can listen to the taped matches when those are done there as well. Okay. Getting you ready for hour number 2. Abby looks like she's flying into JFK, and she has also done a public service. Anyone going to the match? Travel advisory for trains. Do I want to click on this and find out what the travel advisory is? Are they going to be like slower than normal? Are they going to be less than normal? Supporters advised a planned service change on the 7 train. So planned service change number 7, and it's okay. So it is about the 7 train and travel alternatives for those of you who are traveling north. So public service from Abby. And is right there for those of you. It's on Facebook. So if you know Abby on social media, or if you have your supporters group stuff, then that is the big supporters advice for planned service changes on the 7 train this weekend. So flying into JFK, you're 9 miles away. You fly into LaGuardia, you're 2.8. And, so 7:08, huh? Okay. 7:08. 7:08 is when he's supposed to land, and 15 minutes to get out the front door. In theory, that makes it 7:23. 7:40 is the time that he is supposed to be on the air with Mike. Kickoff at 7:40. So, yeah, there you go. Wow. He needs to Jason really needs to be he really needs to be keeping track of all this stuff so we can see what's going on. All right, so let's pick up our match day assignments. We also have our referee assignments for all these. We'll get into those tomorrow as well. 7:30, Blake Price and Paul Dolan calling the match north of the border with Toronto at Vancouver. 8:30, Mark Followell gets a bit of a home game, goes from Dallas to Austin. So he and Warren Barton have Austin and San Jose. Krakauer and Jalil Anibaba, Eric Krakauer, Jalil Anibaba go to Chicago for Chicago and Houston. Rogo and Heath Pierce are in Minneapolis for RSL and the Loons. And also at 8:30, Nate Bacady and Brian McBride dropping into the broadcast booth. So McBride and the Ride are in Nashville for Nashville hosting Philadelphia. Nate Bacady on play-by-play. Tony Husband, Ross Smith are in St. Louis for All Caps and FC Dallas. 10:30, the late game on Saturday night, it's Max and Dunny. They are in Seattle for Montreal and Seattle. We'll catch up with Niko Moreno coming up in about a half hour, and he can let us know what's going on with Seattle right now. And then the Sunday matchup, Sunday afternoon, Portland at Sporting Kansas City. It is Tyler Terrens and Kendra D. St. Aubin. That is your broadcast crews for the weekend, once again brought to us by our friends at the Major League Soccers. So there you go with that. Couple of other things. We'll get into the news of the morning and everything else that's going on. We'll let you know gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we go, and what to watch and where to watch it. Going over all of the papers, we actually had a moment in the Premier League. Yesterday we had the chaos continuing, and it's going to be a race among all 3 at the top of the ladder. And we knew this was going in. If you followed Drew Dickinson on the social medias, you know that Manchester United is got a bunch of injury issues, and so it might be a bit of a slog for them for the near future, and it's big names. So you've got that. We mentioned yesterday Daniel Levy and the current situation with his salary and the idea that Spurs are looking for investors when it comes to their future because of the large losses that they had announced publicly yesterday or over the weekend. So Daniel Levy, according to our friends at the Telegraph, come under fire after the club accounts show that he received a £3 million bonus on top of his £3.58 million salary ahead of rises to season ticket prices. Now, we all know what that means on this side of the Atlantic. When you see a big executive get a pay or a bonus after big salary, gets a big bonus, and then you announce ticket prices are increasing, that's not going to go well. Hasn't gone over well here on this side of the Atlantic, here in the colonies. It's not going over well with Spurs. Newly published accounts also reveal Spurs are in discussions with investors. That we did talk about yesterday. The timing of the bonus, according to the Telegraph, has come under particular scrutiny both in context of anger over planned season ticket rises and what's going on the field, where Spurs finished 8th last season, parted company with Antonio Conte, and extended their wait to 15 years without getting a trophy. Spurs are accused of exploiting fan loyalty and insulting lifelong supporters when it emerged last month season ticket prices would increase by 6%. I don't know what that translates into. And new senior concessions for over 65s would be unavailable from the 25-26 season. And the club, who regard the ticket prices as unconnected to Levy's bonus, have pointed to increased match day cost and the price of utilities to justify the hike. And so Save Our Seniors is demanding a U-turn on the concessions bit. And the statement accompanied by the accounts, Levy, who is believed to be the highest paid Premier League club executive, confirmed Spurs were seeking major new investment. So total revenue for the financial year that ended last year exceeded £500 million, increased stadium income, rise more than 100 million, taking the account to almost $550 million or pounds. Operating expenses had risen by 21% to £488 million, with a loss of 86.8, put down to the significant and continued investment in the playing squad. So, yeah, Daniel Levy is not winning any more friends. Not that he really had a whole lot of friends as an executive in the ideas of the public purview, but he is not gaining any more friends with what has been going on recently with Spurs, and now they want more money from their fans and season tickets. Like I said, I don't know what the comparisons are because I have the ticket prices in front of me, but a 6% raise in ticket prices plus a £3 million bonus, and the folks are not happy about it. So not surprised. Also on the board this morning, you're looking at, not performance-based. No, it is not performance-based compensation. No, it's just, dude, we like what you're doing. Hutch is like, so not performance-based. Not performance-based. Apparently not. It is just, dude, we like what you're doing. We like who you are. We love you. You're great. So here, you're doing a fantastic job. And so that's what you're looking at with Spurs. So no, Doug did mention Gigi's not on the field today as of yet with most of the players with practice or the early toe touchies going on. And don't be surprised, especially as you're trying to manage things. You're going to take it easy with Gigi. You're going to take it easy. As we mentioned with Jason, we tried to go through the injuries, no real updates, but keep an eye out for the Gonzalo Pineda press conference today. See if he mentions anything, see if he is asked about anything. But you're trying to be careful with your number one striker. So when it's time, tomorrow with practice and everything else, if activity is limited today, okay, fine. You do some running on the side. You kind of know the playbook. You'll be okay. I think the only thing that really is going to be the adjustment is the size of the pitch that you practice on, because as we've talked about in the past, Gonzalo Pineda, Tyler mentioned this yesterday, Gonzalo Pineda will, when they go to New York, he will set up the field. He'll set up the practice field and he'll cordon it off. He will trim it so folks can get adjusted to wait on the pass, running lanes, pinball, activity inside the 18, those kinds of things. So having a little less surface area to run, it's not a bad thing either, but you just have to be responsive that much faster. You've got to be that much more heightened in your responses, both offensively and defensively, because it turns into a pinball machine. at Yankee Stadium, and it's a little bigger at Citi Field, but not much. So Gigi not out there today. You're doing load management, especially after something that was knee on knee. At least that's what it looked like to me. When you look, there was the one angle from Apple TV that was off to the side. It was at the far post, and the post kind of obstructed the contact, but it looked like as Gigi was following through, his knee made contact with the defender, and it was, close to, so you end up with knee on knee, and you're just going to keep an eye on it. So it's you and the physios are on first name basis, and so you're trying to figure out what's going on. So if he's not practicing, it's a combination of monitoring and load management and those kinds of things. So keep an ear out for Gonzalo Pineda's press conference today, and keep an ear out for anything that happens tomorrow with practice and monitoring and maintenance and all those kinds of things. So, keep an eye on that, but no Gigi out there at the moment at practice this morning. We had a moment since we're over in the Premier League, we had a moment where you actually had a situation in the Brentford and Brighton match. You had a moment where Andy Madley was sent to the monitor by the VAR, Michael Oliver, for a penalty. Vissa holding back Lewis Dunk. Madley rejected the review. He rejected the review. That is only the second time this year that has happened. So Dale Johnson, who is a must-follow in these kinds of situations, at Dale Johnson ESPN. He does a lot. He's an editor at ESPN FC, does a lot of VAR regulations and things like that. So Dale is a must-follow in these situations. But for the second time this year, we've had a referee sit there and go, nah, rejected the review because Lewis Dunk had been pulled by Vissa first. So according to Dale, mutual holding means there shouldn't be a penalty. So this would have been a bad VAR overturn. The only previous VAR rejection was when Darren England refused to overturn a penalty to Villa versus Crystal Palace. That went down as a wrong decision from the ref. Madley becomes the first referee in the Premier League to reject a VAR review for the second time. He also correctly refused to give a penalty to Palace and Fulham last year when Mike Dean told him there was a handball offense. And so Dale is recommending that we should see monitor rejections slightly more often than we do in the Premier League, but not much because of the nature of the system. It shows the monitor's purpose. VAR isn't infallible to giving bad reviews. You want the ref picking up all of these, not just that one. First time in the Premier League that a referee has been sent to the monitor to give a penalty and restarted with a free kick to the defending team, the foul by Lewis Dunk. Once at the monitor, the ref is in charge of the restart. It happened in the World Cup with a match Denmark and Tunisia. Michael Oliver sends Madley to the monitor to review the penalty, highlighted the potential foul by Dunk. So it was an in-the-round review, final decision up to the ref to reject the penalty. Michael Oliver, the VAR, identifies two separate incidents, the second of which was clear and obvious error for a penalty. Center ref sent to the monitor for the VAR, but is also presented with the possible foul directly before the penalty. So foul happens first, the rest of it gets wiped away. And that's how it looked at. So there were three options. Madley had a penalty to Brighton on the foul by Vissa, free kick to Brentford on the foul by Dunk, or a dropped ball where the play stopped, meaning that there was no foul by either player. And so obviously it was a free kick to Brentford because once again, first item happens first, everything else gets wiped away. So it's a VAR overturn to a free kick to Brentford rather than the referee rejecting VAR's advice and sticking with his own decision because his own decision was to play on. So you had play on the field. VAR says, hey, come over. VAR says, hey, look, we've got a foul and we've got a possible penalty. So you end up with, after the analysis, play on over to the monitor. Let's take a look. We've got a penalty, but then there's a foul ahead of it. So the foul ahead of it wipes out the penalty. But once again, so initial idea was to play on. They go to the monitor to look. You got two options. You technically have a third. They go with the option at the beginning of the play which was the correct observation across the board. So VAR was there to help, but it ended up helping in a different way probably than was initially intended. So after the match, Thomas Frank, the head coach of Brentford, was asked about what happened in that VAR incident and all that back and forth. Here's his response, courtesy of Brentford, their own self.
What did you make of Andy Madley's decision to stick with his
fantastic decision? Fantastic decision from him.
I thought you would say that.
I just spoke to them. As far as I know, it's the protocol that the VAR ref, Michael Oliver in this case, had to ask him to go to the screen because there's a potential penalty from Wissa on Dunk. Even that is clearly a foul on Wissa first. So I think it's just part of the protocol.
And so that's Thomas Frank after we had a VAR down here moment. So we had reffing down here, but it had to do with a moment that had one call. You get called, 3 options, and you end up with the first call of those 3 options. That was not the initial referee call. So once again, at the end of the day, follow at Dale Johnson ESPN for things like this, and you can get into a lot of the reffing down here stuff that we get into on Mondays with Bart. Abby with a PSA. National Burrito Day. Buy one, get one at Moe's. Welcome to Moe's. Burrito on a bowl. So there you go. Buy one, get one free. Also going on, and when Adam Crafton has a byline, you got to pay attention. Adam Crafton over at The Athletic. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe, on February 21st, he has his first real press conference after he acquires the 28% almost of Manchester United. So it was the struggle back and forth between Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Ineos, and Sheikh Jassim, who, we all kind of wondered, does this guy actually exist? Is he an actual person, or is he AI or something like that? That had kind of come out as one of the tongue-in-cheek elements that were a part of this whole thing. And remember, Sheikh Jassim wanted to buy the whole thing. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, 28%, and then escalators. So one journalist invited to Ineos HQ suggested the bid fronted by Jassim had been very odd and that the Sheikh had been an unfamiliar name to many. Ratcliffe said, quote, "Still nobody's ever seen him, actually. The Glazers never met him. I'm not sure he exists." Ratcliffe also appeared to confirm that the Qatari bid had failed to produce proof of funds. This had been the first been implied in the filings to the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, back in January, following the completion of the deal. Ratcliffe also said, yes, that is correct, when a journalist suggested the Qataris had exaggerated the size of their bid. The Athletic can reveal, and this is this morning from Crafton, legal representatives of Sheikh Jassim and the 9-2 Foundation, the vehicle established to bid for United, have sent legal letters to Manchester United lawyers in New York City and London to complain about, quote, a pattern of demonstrably false and defamatory statements made by Ratcliffe about their attempt to buy the club, which they call Project Ruby. I'm guessing because of the shiny piece of jewelry. They also demand, quote, immediate corrective action, end quote, be made to the club's SEC filings, and accused Ratcliffe of making comments in his interview in February that represented a breach of the confidentiality agreement signed by all parties concerning the sales processes. The complaint, this is Crafton's wording, complaint symbolizes the intense frustration developed among Sheikh Jassim's team as they struggled to establish clarity as to what exactly the Glazers were seeking to achieve via their strategic review, with uncertainty throughout as to whether the family were ever truly united on the prospect of letting go of Manchester United. Qataris were first moved to complain after United submitted their schedule filing to the SEC in January 17th, which essentially said it was an account of the chain of events that led to Ratcliffe taking the stake in the club. United have to do this because they're listed on the New York Stock Exchange. In the filing, United stated that Sheikh Jassim's bid repeatedly failed to produce, quote, customary financing commitment letters, end quote, which sounds pretty important, which was almost universally interpreted in media reports to mean that the bid failed to demonstrate proof of funds. A week later, Manchester United's lawyers got a legal letter in which representatives of the Qataris insisted the filing had created, quote, a misleading impression and made a request for immediate corrective action. The demand has not been fulfilled. The Qataris argue in their correspondence that the 9-2 Foundation provided definitive proof of funds via a demand guarantee from the Qatar National Bank. The Athletic has seen evidence that a senior exec from QNB wrote to United to confirm the ability of the 9-2 Foundation to fund the purchase of the club and clear the club's debts, which still stand at more than £650 million, despite Ratcliffe clearing $120 million off of that in March. Qatar's legal correspondent says that the 9-2 Foundation made their fifth formal offer on June 1, 2023 for a little over $5 billion and a further $731 to clear the debt, pledged to invest another 1.3, which would have brought the overall investment to north of $7 billion. And that's why, apparently, according to Crafton, the Qataris are mad at Ratcliffe. Ratcliffe appeared to concur with a journalist that their bid had not been as high as suggested. Qataris made further increases in verbal discussions, according to contact that Crafton made with anonymous sources, and that the bid never received the impression, but never formally in writing, that they had achieved preferred bidder status. Manchester United has yet to respond. Don't imagine that they will. So for those of you that have The Athletic, you can dig that up. But apparently Sheikh Jassim does in fact exist as a human being. And the Qataris are mad at Sir Jim Ratcliffe for what he was intimating publicly, and that in the filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission, that the Glazers are basically intimated that the Qatari bid from Sheikh Jassim and the 9-2 Foundation didn't have all the funds that they said it did. So that's where you are. So yes, you get and Hutch. This was multiple sternly worded letters over a period of time. So the Qataris and Sheikh Jassim and the 9-2 Foundation have sent apparently multiple sternly worded letters to Manchester United and to Sir Jim Ratcliffe saying, we would like an apology, please, and you are incorrect in your assessment. But that has apparently fallen on deaf ears at the moment. And will it ever happen? I don't know. So there's all of that. Mauricio Pochettino says that he fears his players are in a comfort zone. When I was at Espanyol, he says, my first experience as a coach, I was at the training ground 7 o'clock every morning. When I moved to Southampton, 6:30. Spurs, 7, sometimes 7:30. PSG, the same, 6 in the morning. Now again, 6:45, 6:40. It's not going to change. After 15 years, my passion is here. My motivation is football. After 15 years of working, your salary increases, but that cannot put me in a very comfortable zone to say, now I arrive at 9 o'clock and leave at 2. I need to keep pushing myself. Chelsea's 12th heading into the weekend. Pochettino looked at the attitude of his new recruits. He says, that question is true. If now, because I moved from another club, in another club I was playing for less money, for less expectations, no one is expecting anything from me. But now I arrive here and people really believe that I'm so good, but now I feel the pressure. What do I need to do? It is to arrive early. It is to work more. It is to run more. It is to be more focused. What you say is important. Never be in a comfort zone. If you are in a comfort zone, you drop your level, you drop your standards. I don't say that happened here because too many other things happened, but that is one of the things we are aware of. When you mix this a little bit, a small percentage, easy life, easy that, then when you put it all together, it is not easy. The demand to win is completely different. To prepare yourself to win every single game, you need to have experience, to be mature, to know yourself and the people around you. Why we are in the process to build something. That is why we are not winning in the way we expect. We still need to create this mentality. You need to demand more from yourself and your teammate. The example is the last game. You cannot draw a game like this if you are Chelsea. 2-2 draw with Burnley. And speaking of Burnley, by the way, did you see that fans had to be removed and shifted from underneath one of the for lack of a better phrase, the end zone behind one of the goals because there were some issues with the roof over their heads. So they had to move fans out from underneath an overhang in one of the end zones at Turf Moor. And that's how they ended up getting to watch most of the last match that they had at Turf Moor. And I don't know if you saw this. And this is Turkey. So, like I said, this is something that was intriguing at the very least, and it has created something else. Don't know if you saw this about Fenerbahce, but we talked about there was a fight. Literally, you had fans coming onto the pitch and wanting to take swings at Fenerbahce players after a match a little bit ago. So Fenerbahce had a meeting about whether or not they should leave the Turkish Super League altogether. The match with Trabzonspor, the one where you had the one player who was really taking some hard swings at some Trabzonspor fans, and then you had the other one that tried to do the spinning back heel on the other Trabzonspor fan. Because of all of that, Fenerbahce was this close. They wanted to vote on whether or not they should even stay in the Turkish Super League. Don't know where they would go. I'm sure that folks would be happy to have them, but they were on the verge of having a vote about, yeah, we're done. We're out. We're not going to be in this league anymore. They thought about it, but then they decided not to go through with the threat. They actually had a Congress with with thousands of folks there inside the stadium where you're literally doing a hand-raised ballot. So you're in your stadium. Hey, yo, you were debating about having this vote. And so it's like hands raised from everybody at the Congress inside the home stadium. Least preferred option was to withdraw from the league. People think we would have to deal in the lower league with the same things that we deal with here, according to the club chairman after the raised hand vote, taking the option off the table until the General Assembly at the end of the season. So back in March, once again, they said after the fights where the fans came running onto the field, we're out. Turkish league has been a mess this year. Fenerbahce, who won their 19th league title in 2014, second in the league after 30, 2 points behind Galatasaray. They get Demirspor later today, and you can catch that one on Wednesday. So you can catch Turkish Super League matches over on BN. But yeah, absolute craziness about one of the big names in football getting to the point to where they're just tired of it, and they're like, you know what? We're done. I don't know if you're really ever going to get to the point where it's going to end up being a team taking that kind of a stand just because of the financials that are attached. But it will be really interesting. So because of that, secondary story, Trabzonspor is going to play their next 6 home matches without spectators. 2 Fenerbahce players got 1 match bans because of the brawl. In the 3-2 loss. Wednesday, the disciplinary committee said that Trabzonspor is going to play their next 6 home matches behind closed doors because of the brawl. 3 million lira fine, which is like 75,000 pounds. Ban the coach from the dressing room and the bench for 1 match. The Fenerbahce defender, who was attacked by the fan and was fighting the spectator, was not given a penalty, but 2 other players got 1 match bans and given minor fines for their involvement in the brawl. So, I guess you got to do something. But at times you kind of wonder, it's like, okay, what is it that we are supposed to do here? We're kind of defending ourselves, and okay, great, but you kind of wonder what's going on. So it was interesting to say the very least that they decided not to ban some, to ban others, not to fine some, not to fine others. It was just it was odd, to say the very least. So, and I guess you're trying to sit there and it's like, okay, how can we gauge this? How can we sit there and be equitable about it? Make it look like we're making a stand, even though we should be doing something different. When Martin Ziegler's got a byline over at the Times, it's something serious. We talked about Luis Rubiales, I think it was 2 days ago. And apparently, the corruption police are looking into accounts of Gerard Piqué after Rubiales got held at the airport. He was at his house in the Dominican when his house in Spain got searched. So Spanish prosecutors have now applied to authorities in Andorra for access to bank accounts belonging to Piqué and 9 associated companies. El País said the investigating judge is investigating. The investigating judge is investigating. I would hope that, let's just say, the judge is investigating. The judge in charge is investigating whether payments were made to Rubiales or any other Spanish FA officials connected to the deal to take the Spanish Super Cup to Saudi Arabia for 10 years. Judge is said to have identified a number of multi-million euro payments from the Andorran bank accounts that she wants access to. We mentioned Rubiales getting detained and arrested for a couple of hours once he deplaned. And then he was a suspect, told he was a suspect in the corruption probe and told to appear before a local court. Spanish prosecutors opened the investigation back in 2022 into the Super Cup deal after the audio recordings between Rubiales and Piqué were leaked. Rubiales has always defended the legality of the deal. That's the one-off match. Contracts signed were worth 30 million euro a year, arranged with Piqué's company acting as an intermediary. Piqué has not so far been among those placed under investigation. The recordings published in Spanish media revealed Piqué's company got 24 million euro for brokering the deal. Recordings include Piqué telling Rubiales Barca and Real Madrid would get 8 million euro if they took part, but the other Spanish teams would only be paid 2 million euro. Super Cup took place for the first time in Saudi Arabia in 2020. Piqué said in 22 everything's legal. Proud of the deal, Rubiales has always denied any kind of wrongdoing. So keep an eye on that as well when it comes to all of the Spanish football. In an interview broadcast yesterday, Luis Rubiales on La Sexta denied accepting bribes and said his earnings were a product of his work and savings, according to promotional material released by the network. So there you go. So that is your overseas monitoring of what's going on as we get you ready for yet another weekend. More sternly worded letters this morning. Once again, reminder, tomorrow it's going to be very, very busy. We are going to have the head coach of the U.S. national futsal team as they get ready for training camp and they get ready for the World Championships. It is Everton Moreira. We're going to have him on bat and lead off tomorrow, and we'll catch up with him about the sport, how it is continuing to grow, U.S.'s presence in it, what he's looking for from this training camp, all those kinds of things. We'll catch up with him for about 15 minutes. Then our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring are going to hop on at 9:30. We'll find out how the Easter holiday was. I don't know if it'll be Greg Garza or if it'll be Michael Parkhurst, but we will find out who, and we will talk stuff for about a half hour. And then it is scheduled that we are going to have the commissioner of NISA on tomorrow at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock tomorrow. John Pruch, the commissioner of NISA. And this conversation is going to cover a lot of things. I'm going to try and cover a lot of things in a very short period of time. We've probably got him for like 20 minutes. And with the regular season for NISA kicking off this weekend, the announcement was made that Georgia Lions SCFC now have a new name, a new moniker, and they are now going to be known as Georgia FC. Preston Jarneski is the newly named director of business operations. Kareem Dazer is the new sporting director. If the name Kareem Dazer is, triggering some, hey, I remember that guy. Longtime coach, has got an academy in Northwest Georgia, and he has spent time at Dalton State, spent time at Georgia Military College, spent 10 years as a head coach in the early 21st century in Georgia State as well. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about tomorrow with the commissioner of NISA, John Pruch. He'll be on at 10 o'clock. and we'll discuss everything going on there. It is the final half hour of Thursday, which means one thing. It means we go and we find out what cup of coffee the guy is on, what the mug is that he's got, and what's going on inside his brain. It is time for Thursdays with Niko. Niko Moreno, my friend. What is going on?
What's going on, SDH family? As always, just happy to be here another Thursday with you, with your audience. Excited to talk about MLS, CONCACAF, whatever you have in store for me. We saw no Messi and friends fall. We saw some interesting results as well last week. We did okay in the juice boxes.
Okay.
Not as good as we typically do, but ready to go, man. You let me know what's up.
All right. Well, first and foremost, what cup of coffee are you on, and what's the mug of the day?
Number 3, man. You might hear it in my voice. This is my 3rd cup of coffee. Got up 4 o'clock this morning. Did a little workout with the wife, and this is cup number 3.
Wow.
And the mug is the Rave Green mug. There it is, right there.
All right. So, man, 3rd cup. I am, man. You really are getting after it. You've been at it for 3.5 hours now. If you went up with the boss and getting the workout in. So let's go ahead and talk. We'll start with CONCACAF. Last night, the late game in Costa Rica, Pachuca put 5 on our friends at Herediano at the National Stadium. Solomon Rondon got a hat trick. But the game that started the night was And Friends. And Friends had a lead. Inter Miami, they had a lead. And then there was a wonder whether or not David Ruiz actually got 3 yellows. But 3 was still more than 2, and all you need is 2. You get the 2 registered in a 4-minute period, and you go from 1 up down to losing 2-1 at home, and you've got to try to make that up on the road in Monterrey next time around. And it was there for them. And Robert Taylor apparently is picked up a knock, and so now you have all of these other effects that are from it. But Inter Miami, man, they had it right there. And Friends looked like they were taking care of business for a while, and then they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, you said it all. You got to credit Tata for just putting together the perfect plan to contain Monterrey, to play with what he had, because you heard him after the game talk about he has 7 players that are injured. They're not in his roster. You could tell that it was a huge factor in this game because the team was gassed. I mean, in the last 20 minutes, there was just no legs. You look at that bench and you didn't know who you were going to bring in. When you add that to the injury of Robert Taylor in the 37th, you add Reese's inexperience, immaturity kind of come through because he, like you said, he flirted with the red card all game long. And did he get 3 yellows or not? I mean, we'll never know. But at the end of the day, like you said, 2 is enough. And that changes the complexity of the game because you're already struggling to just handle a very good Monterrey team. And you can afford to do that. And even after that, the goals are very circumstantial. The one off the corner kick, I'm not sure what Busquets is doing with his head. I don't know if he was trying to clear it, he was trying to stand away from it, but he creates a shot on Calendar gets it out, and that leaves it for the Monterrey attacker to just kind of tap it in. Mesa wasn't going to miss that shot. And then the second goal, it's a beautiful shot by Rodriguez, absolutely, but it comes off of a bad turnover of a Miami team that likes to get out with the ball, likes to play out of their own third, and they give up a silly turnover on top of the box, and Monterrey puts it away, right? Tata, after the game, talked about the hierarchy, the importance of this Monterrey team. You can't give a club like this with a roster that they have those type of opportunities because you're never going to win the game. So still props to Tata's plan. I thought Suarez played a good game. I thought Diego Gomez played a good game, despite him also not having the best decision making in this one. The yellow that he got, I thought that was silly. Busquets did not have a great game, in my opinion. So all in all, I thought that they worked with what they had. They could have either won this game or tied it. Now they're they have a deficit, and it seems really hard to think that they're going to go to Monterrey and turn this around.
And a lot of folks have been discussing the idea of how does Major League Soccer fix this? And what I mean by that is in the 11 matches that you've had an MLS team go up against the Liga MX side, it is 7 wins and 4 draws, all on the side of Liga MX. There have been no wins by an MLS side in this entire gig. And everybody is sitting there saying Caleb Porter after the New England loss, where they got taken out, they got taken out back behind the woodshed, and it was done in 25 or 30 minutes. 3-0, and you finish up at 4. Caleb Porter after the match, he goes, it's like going up against 11 DPs, and they're bringing in guys off the bench and blah, blah, blah. A lot of folks here on this side of the planet are sitting there and saying, north of the Rio Grande are sitting there going, we got to figure out a way to fix this. I don't think it is as easy as throwing money at the problem, because we have seen instances, much like last night, where if you have some stars and younger players that get it up to the Ruiz moment, up to that 4-minute span, where you're at home, MLS teams seem to be handling themselves better at home, and then it's just adjusting to life on the road, going up against these Liga MX sides. How do we address this issue of MLS isn't winning against Liga MX sides? Because when you look at this issue, what is going through your brain as to the why? And is there a quick fix to fix this to where MLS is winning these games and winning these series against these Liga MX teams?
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, it does come down to the roster build, and that links you directly to the money aspect immediately. You've heard every MLS coach talk about the difference in budget and especially depth in that bench and the players you're bringing on and off the field, right? Tata yesterday said, this Monterrey team is bringing in national team players off the bench, whether it's Corona or the Chilean international they brought in. I mean, this team clearly has an advantage when it comes to the amount of talent that they're bringing in.
Yeah.
However, I am 110% with you that we could argue that Miami had it right there. We could argue that I still have no idea what's going on with Will Fernandes and Cucho, because if you look at that game, Columbus was very much in it with a guy, an X factor, a finisher, a guy that has been crucial and fundamental for Columbus. You could argue that they're going to take that game as well if he's on the field. So you're already seeing an improvement in the way that MLS teams handle it. One of the problems was the calendar. That's kind of been not completely taken care of, but it's gotten a lot better when teams are starting to practice. The moment of this tournament where MLS teams are already moving a little bit more in rhythm because they're a little farther along. But I don't think that there's a quick fix. I think that it's literally going to continue to be on a base-to-base cases. I don't like to think that a league is better simply on results of a tournament with, 10 games to the final. I mean, it's not necessarily relevant to the quality of the league. Yeah. But I understand the desire of fans and everybody to have this great MLS development, and what we've seen out of the league show that on the field against these Mexican teams. So at the end of the day, I think we're going to see that get even better, and we're going to be able to come into games where that roster is a little bit more balanced as we go along, and we add more money, more surplus of money for rosters. We give teams the ability to bring in younger DPs, add different things to the established rules for roster building, and then you'll see a lot more balance, and maybe we'll see more of the soccer aspect really make the difference and not the money aspect.
Yeah, you mentioned Columbus, and as we say, Major League Soccer squads going up against Liga MX teams, you take care of business at home, you make it easier on yourself on the road. And Columbus, they were doing that once again.
Mhm.
And I think that you and I both can stipulate that Wilfred Nancy is a bad man. He when it comes to coaching, he is a bad man. And right now, I think it is Columbus and a lot of other teams chasing Columbus right now when it comes to the top teams in Major League Soccer. But once again, I'll put the Cucho thing to the side for a second. But once again, Columbus had it. They had the advantage at home and didn't finish the deal, and now they got work to do on the road. Again, I feel like I keep saying the same sentence over and over and over again when it comes to Major League Soccer. They didn't take care of it at home. They got business on the road. Or they took care of it at home, and they've got some wiggle room. This case, once again, with Columbus, you had the lead. Aiden Morris went to the chuckle hut and tried to say something, do something funny, which was just dumb. But Aiden Morris gets a second yellow. He's not going to be there for the second leg, which is really going to hurt Columbus on the road. They had it. They don't have it, and now it's going to be a taller task.
Yeah, and like I said, we won't mention the Cucho thing. Just out of what we saw over 90 minutes of play, Columbus created a whole bunch of opportunities. And Rossi had a couple of breakaways that maybe different decisions are made. Maybe you wait up a little bit more, you hold that ball, wait for somebody else to catch up. I thought Hinestrosa was dangerous all game. Morris, I thought he had a fantastic game all the way till he gets that second yellow. The collective pressure was making it real difficult for Tigres to build out of the back. I thought that aside from that header, Gignac was pretty quiet for most of the game. So there were elements of a Wilfred Nancy that we've all applauded for his tactics, for his ability to grow players, to develop players, to quickly implement everything that his soccer module asks of players, which is very demanding. So it is tough to see them waste an opportunity at home and not be able to finish. And regardless of that quality that we were just talking about in terms of talent coming off the bench, talent on the field, that does make a bit of a difference, makes a lot of a difference. And they just didn't have it in this one. Nothing against Russell Rowe. I thought he had a decent game. He tried to be as dangerous as he potentially could be. I thought Rossi played a really good game, but he could have finished some of these opportunities a lot better. Nagby was a little bit too deep at times for me, but all in all, I thought Columbus had done enough to manage the game a little better and maybe win it at the end because they did push, they did pressure, they seemed to have it in them. Right before Morris gets ejected, I had said he seems like Morris and Hinestrosa are the formula for a second goal for Columbus, and then Morris is out of the game, and that just kind of dies down. But again, to the general point of conversation that we started with, these are the types of situations that show you that even though Tigres has a bunch of talent, a bunch of money, a huge roster, Columbus was always in it. Columbus could have won this, and now we'll see what happens in the second leg of this matchup.
Yeah, Rossi had that late chance also at 90 plus that really could have put away as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the Cucho Hernandez situation. For the second match in a row, regardless of competition, folks have been asking Wilfred Nancy why Cucho is not a part of the game day plan. And, Wilfred Nancy says basically it's an internal matter. And, we're focused on us. We're talking about the 11 players that are here, the 18 that are on our game day roster. We're not talking about Cucho Hernandez. We don't know the why. We do know that when Cucho was pulled from a game a couple of games ago, he voiced his displeasure publicly as he was heading to the bench. I think he was buzzing past Wilfred Nancy, and they had some words exchanged. Don't know if that is it. Basically, we don't know what we don't know. But you're still seeing who's in charge in Columbus, and it's Wilfred Nancy, and they seem to be doing what Wilfred Nancy still wants them to do. Right now, it's not a distraction. At least it doesn't appear to be that way on the field. They seem to be, compartmentalizing what's going on. But how much of a distraction do you anticipate this becoming the longer that this goes?
Beyond being a distraction, the only factual matter is that you're handicapping the team.
Yeah.
That is that simple. And we don't got to talk about distractions or mental aspect of the game, or a player like Rossi feeling some sort of way because his buddy's not on the field. I really hope that it was not just that interaction between Wilfred and Juan Camilo that made this whole deal. Because sometimes you got to put those things aside. I understand that you want to be the coach and that you have a value system and policies and the way you handle your business. But these are the games that you brought Cucho Hernandez for. These are the games that are going to change the aspect of your club. This is a historic tournament. This is where everything happens. And not being able to maybe put aside whatever happened. And I'm not saying you got to cater to a diva. I'm not saying that. I just think that I hope there was more than just a quick interaction that is worth missing two important games where he was missed in both. And I feel like if you have the cojones to leave this guy out, you should have them to also say what's going on. Hey, man, this is what happened. Maybe if it's beyond that, if we're talking, I don't know, legal matters or things that are beyond very sensitive information, I think that Wilfred should just go ahead and say it, man. And I understand that you want to keep the dirty laundry within the locker room, but sometimes the media and the fans deserve an explanation, because not seeing Cucho in that lineup was irritating, was mind-boggling, and honestly did a disservice to the club, to the league, to everything that comes from having a player like Juan Camilo in MLS. So I just think, I hope that this gets resolved quickly and that we get some clarity on what happened.
Yeah. But bottom line is like we can sit there and we look at one instance. Is that part of it? Is that all of it? Like I said, we don't know what we don't know when it comes to the whole thing, and so it's part and parcel to what's going on right now in Columbus. Halftime with Niko, Thursdays with Niko, where we talk about the week that was, we talk about the week that will be, we go through juice boxes and play cliffhanger, and to see if we can help out our buddy from Pulso Sports on the Soccer Bar when it comes to his juice boxes come the weekend. On Tuesday here on the show, we were talking hot seats in Major League Soccer. And what we did is we went from the bottom half of each of the standings as they currently are in each conference, because frankly, unless there's something going on that we don't know, you're not talking about folks that are in the upper half of the conference when it comes to hot seats right now. It's like, oh wait, you're leading the conference. Oh, your coach is on the hot seat. No. And right now we were looking at folks, and you're kind of sitting there going, there are too many new managers in the East to sit there and make blanket statements about some of these clubs. I know we're staring at Nashville. I know we're staring at NYC. We're taking the people's eyebrow and we're raising it in New England with what's going on with Caleb Porter, because it is not working in multiple competitions for New England. 0-4-1 in Major League Soccer. And you've only scored 5 goals, but you've given up 11 in MLS. You got thumped, and I think I'm being kind. You got thumped by Club America in the Triple C earlier this week. Then in the West, you look at the lower half, and I mean, you're not going to talk about Chirundolo yet. You're not going to talk about Bradley Carnell at all, considering they're the reigning defending winners of the Pie Plate. I know Josh Wolf. You're going to sit there and talk about Austin. Is it Niko? Is it is it Lucci? And then Brian Schmetzer right now at the bottom of the table in the West, 2 points, 5 matches, no wins. You've spent time there this week. What is the vibe like, knowing that there are injuries all over the place, but Seattle in an unfamiliar spot at the bottom of the West right now? What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, this is uncharted waters for this team. I believe that they have now matched their worst starting season ever. I think it was 2013. But at the end of the day, it doesn't seem to be panic mode just yet. When you walk through the doors of Long Acres, soon to be something else called. I'm hearing sometime this week there might be an announcement on that. You don't see that there's panic. You don't really see a steam coming from the lower part of Brian Smetzer's seat. I have said repeatedly this week that I believe it is warm and not lukewarm. I think that it is warmer than that because it's not just the results. You gotta bring last season. And although, yes, this team finished second in the conference, they didn't do it in the most dominant way. There is a standard set here in Seattle, and Brian Smetzer is going to be judged on his own success. It's his own success. He's been amazing, fantastic. I have all my respect for Brian Smetzer for what he's done since he's been here, but he's never dealt with something like this. He's never really had to deal with rebuilding a group either, because he's always had that golden generation of Niko and Raul and the best of Christian, the best of Jordan. Now you're having to do a lot of things, and yes, the main reason why that seat's not burning hot is because there are circumstances, and you've heard me talk about the difference between excuses and circumstances. It's not an excuse because we see what Houston is doing with a lot of injuries. They're still getting some points. Seattle hasn't been able to do it, but those circumstances are there. And it's hard to judge Brian Smetzer when we still don't even know what the full potential of the best starting 11 for this team is. Not to mention that against the LA Galaxy, regardless of not getting the result once again and having the exact same problems finishing in front of goal, it looked better. I mean, it looked cohesive. They looked dangerous. I've been begging, asking repeatedly to you guys, pleading that we put Jordan Morris on the left wing. Brian Smetzer's finally done it. There is no reason why you should ever move him all the way into maybe Pedro de la Vega is back, where maybe you have some questions to ask yourself. But even with Leo back, even with whoever you want to put over there, Jordan Morris is still your best answer. So because of that, and I won't get too much further into it other than I don't think he's lost the locker room. I don't think that he's lost the confidence of the club. I think that Adrian Hainauer and Craig Weibel still believe in Brian Smetzer being able to turn this thing around. But that's a couple of tough games coming up. I don't think Montreal is an easy game at all, regardless of it being at home. You play LA again. You play Portland. I mean, there's some tough games coming up. You got to deal with U.S. Open Cup. So we'll see how they handle this. But if results don't come quick enough, you might see that hot seat forcefully be lit on fire. Maybe it's not. Maybe it doesn't come organically. You might have to light it up. You might have to get a little torch back there. But I think that could happen if results don't get better.
Okay. All right.
Even past injuries.
Okay. Has Brian Smetzer not earned the right to walk away on his own deal though?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, of course he's earned it, and that's why I think that if it wasn't Brian Smetzer, we'd be talking a whole different ballgame. It is Brian Smetzer, and he has earned that. But I do believe that cushion, that leash that you earned, because he earned it. He wasn't given nothing. Yeah. He earned it when he came to CCL, when he came to bringing all the biggest titles this franchise has ever seen. That fuse is shortened, and there's no longer fuse. There's no more leash. There's no more cushion. I mean, that thing is as flat as it gets. So now you're going to have to come up with ways to get results. And sometimes it can be unfair because this LA Galaxy game, you created so many opportunities that sometimes it comes down to the player, the moment players are having. But ultimately, and this used to be a Siggy Smith thing, he used to say, coaches, we have the bags ready to go in the front door. I mean, that's just the way of the world. So I think he has earned that. He has earned that right to go on his own terms, but he's going to have to turn the ship around somehow, some way. The club believes. I believe he can definitely get better. I don't know if we'll see him after his contract is up again. I think he'll retire on his own terms. But for now, if he doesn't turn things around, he might be shown the door. And that's just the way of, again, his own success is going to has put a certain expectation. And if you don't meet that, and this team spirals out of control in terms of not getting any results over the last 6 games, there's really nothing that can hold you, even for a Brian Smetzer in the 50 years of the club, no less.
And I did not mean for us to go down this rabbit hole, but it was something that it was in my brain this morning, and got to spend a lot of time on it. All right, time to play cliffhanger, and we'll roll through the matches here, kind of in a rapid fire thing. And if there's anyone that you want to talk about, we'll stop and talk about it. A lot of the 7:30s on Saturday night. Crew's hosting DC United. Crew are big on the minus side at a minus 152. You've got Cincinnati and Red Bulls. Cincinnati on the plus side, favored at home against Red Bulls at a plus 114. Red Bulls are a plus 242.
Point. What's the draw there?
Plus 238 on Cincinnati and Red Bulls.
I might take that draw, man. New York's been interesting. Cincinnati has done just enough. They've kind of pulled that shield out of their back pocket in all terms, and pun intended. Sometimes teams just know how to get there, know how to win it. That Charlotte game was concerning, but again, you pull that shield, you pull that we are a very good team, and on a counter and a very good transition play, whether it's DeAndre Jedlin's effort to get where he got, the little bag heel, and then the finish by Bopuenza. I mean, you can tell this team has talent, but New York's been good, and they're no longer a team that is just organized and just high pressure. They play good soccer. They move the ball. I think Morgan is without a doubt the comeback player of the year, and he's been unbelievable. He leads the league today in goals. So this is a good New York Red Bull team. I'll go with the draw.
Yep, Forsberg's turning into a great pickup for them as well. And Friends are a minus 120 hosting Colorado. I still think that they're going to find a way to make it happen. I just don't see Colorado doing anything on the road.
What's the draw on that one?
Plus 295.
I'll take the draw on that one too, man. I think that this Miami team is short on depth at this moment. There's so many injuries. They're tired legs. Yes, they have the weapons to do things, but Colorado's starting to figure it out. That LAFC win showed you a little bit of that quality that they brought in. It was a lot of push and grind, which is what we had not seen out of Colorado this entire season. You thought that they were a team that was just flat and bleak, and they really had to, grind out that win, and back and forth, you end up getting that result. So I think that they have enough to draw against Messi and friends after tough CONCACAF game for that squad.
No doubt about it. Revs favored at home at a plus 129 as Charlotte comes to town. NYC at Citi Field, the home of the New York Mets, hosting Atlanta United. NYC is a plus 104. Atlanta and the draw are both plus 254 in the composite.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's a tough one, man. I don't see New York City winning against Atlanta, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Can they pull a draw? Maybe, but I've already called 3 of them out. I'm staying away from that one.
Vancouver and Toronto. Vancouver on the minus side at a minus 154. El Trafico at 745. LAFC and LAG. LAFC's favored at a minus 139.
Favorite minus 139. What's Galaxy looking like?
Plus 305 to win on the road.
Wow. You know what?
Uh-oh. Here you go.
Give me the Galaxy, man. Give me the Galaxy. And I'm gonna take the risk on this LAG squad. I think that Seattle did a good job containing them. That you got to give credit to Sounders there, but you could tell that this team just has the quality to do a lot of things right. Brugman brought a discipline, an organization, a distribution that they had not had before this game. I think Pencil doing a lot of different things against Seattle, playing more in the inside channels with Peck on the left side. Maybe we see them go back to Pencil farther out wide and Fagundes coming in this one. LAFC, they've had their own issues, especially defensively, especially on set pieces, especially in transition, especially in a lot of the things that LA Galaxy can do right. It's been a while. It's been a while since LAG's been able to take care of business against LAFC. But I'm going to take it on the 3. What is it? 3 what?
It's 3 and change. It's like 358.
All right. Yeah, I'm taking that one. Let's see how that plays out. We'll get that going.
And also, just to let you know, 3.5 on your over-under is a plus 121. 4 is a plus 211. 4.5 is a plus 273.
A little too rich for my blood, but they're going to be multiple goals. Just might be a little too rich for my blood.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. Galaxy north of plus 300 at a plus 305. Austin hosting San Jose. They're on the plus side. Chicago hosting Houston. They're on the plus side. Minnesota hosting RSL. RSL is a plus 227 on the road at Minnesota.
Ooh. Oh, hey, I'll take RSL.
Figured you would.
I'll take RSL on that one. Absolutely. 100%. We saw Minnesota kind of come back to reality a little bit. I hate to say it, but they're not a team that you would expect to be undefeated because of the injuries, because of style of play. Really hasn't been beautiful, amazing. I still have a lot of doubts about Will Trapp at midfield and a lot of the things that they don't do defensively, but they still hold on. I think St. Clair has a lot to do with that. St. Clair's been big for this team all season. I've watched a couple of those games, and it seems like in every game, St. Clair's diving in for a ball that no one might get to. I think RSL has the goods, baby. And Chicho coming in from a hat trick, and the young players and the players that haven't been there. And man, I like what I'm seeing from RSL. I'm glad that I picked them as high as I did in my preseason rankings. But yeah, I'll take that all day, every day.
And a game that'll bore us to tears. Nashville hosting Philadelphia. The draws a plus 236. Take the under. All Caps hosting FC Dallas on the minus side. Seattle, Montreal. Seattle's a minus 133.
Yeah, no, I want nothing to do with that one. Definitely not worth the limit's not worth the squeeze there on that one. It'll be a fun game for us to be at and follow, just because anything that Seattle does can provide you a lot of narratives and a lot of things to write and discuss, whether it's a win or whether it's a loss. There's going to be a lot to talk about. But in terms of soccer, I don't know how great this is going to be. This is going to be a low-scoring game, that's for sure, in my opinion. So, yeah, definitely wouldn't put no cash on that one. Nope. But I see Seattle pulling off a win. I mean, I had that against San Jose, didn't come through. But, maybe this is the time at home with players back where they're best fit at, and maybe they get that win.
And the weekend wraps up with Sporting hosting Portland. Sporting's on the minus side at a minus 110. I know that you've got to catch your breath before you do your other activities with Pulso Sports and the Soccer Bar. What do we need to know?
All righty, baby. We'll be back here in about 40 minutes at Soccer Bar. We'll be talking about a lot of what we just discussed, but we're going to go more in depth in the Tata situation, what's really going on with Messi. Can they flip this thing around and move on to the next phase of this tournament? What happens if they don't? MLS, what's going on? Why are we as a league not being able to win these matches? We'll talk about all that in Spanish. And then in Pulso Sports, we're going to be at training today for the Sounders. What's happening? What is the deal? Is JP going to be able to come back for this one? He's been full at training, but between us two, John, he looks a little stiff. And between us two, of course, your wonderful audience. But there's when he plays, I see him a little bit stiff. He seems to hurt, and that's just my opinion, my take on on Joe Paulo. I think he's still a little bit out. He's just not moving as free as we're used to seeing him play. And, the hips, the injuries he has are tough to get over. So check that out. I'm going to try to do a breakdown of what I saw in practice today. So that'll be at Postal Sports.
As always, my friend, great to have you on Thursdays at 10:30 our time, 7:30 your time. Go catch your breath. Enjoy your third cup of coffee. We'll catch up with you next week, my friend.
Thank you very much. I'll see you guys.
All right, that's Niko Moreno at El Rolo NW on the Twitters. And it's always great to get his specific perspective on things. And yeah, I mean, Seattle right now, bottom of the West. Did not anticipate with all the injuries and everything that they would be where they are right now. And so having Niko on a Thursday to kind of break things down in the Western Conference, we didn't even get into the other hot seats because of what's going on in Seattle right now. That's where things have kind of gone over the edge and off the rails. So got into a bit of a deeper dive than we normally would, but it was a topic that was close to Niko, and so we got his analysis on it. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and what to watch and where to watch it before we go. And we'll start with what to watch. Once again, Super League, Başakşehir, Besiktas at 1:30, Copa Libertadores 6, 8, and 10. Rosario Central, Peñarol, Liverpool, IDV, and Always Ready in Medellin. You can get that at BN and BN in Espanol on the simulcast. If you do not have BN, if you don't have that, you get Liga 1 Max, you get CDO, you get Nostra Tele, you get For the Fans, you get TIC, you get all that stuff in one place. Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps out us, helps out the network, helps out Fanatis, and you get to watch everything at BN and BN in Espanol at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Jason got me hooked. I blame him. Later today, Premier League, Chelsea, Manchester United. That's on USA at 3:15. ESPN Deportes has Granada Valencia at 2. Universo is your simulcaster for what's going on in the Prem. Generation Adidas Cup. It is Brøndby and FC Cincinnati. They are going on right now. It's the round of 16 in the U15s. St. Louis City and Arsenal is at noon. Round of 16 in the U17s. It is PSV, NYCFC, and Jean-Bouc Hyundai Motors and Philadelphia Union at 5 o'clock. You can catch that on Season Pass. ESPN Plus has the Eredivisie, 2 matches, 12:40 and 3. Ajax and Go Ahead Eagles. FA Youth Cup, Leeds United and Millwall, and Granada Valencia simulcast. Liverpool and Sheffield United. Big matchup at the top of the table. That is on Peacock. So Liverpool, Sheffield United at 2:30 is on Peacock today. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we get out of here. And let's see how much there actually might be when it comes to everything. Newcastle fear they might have to sell Bruno Guimaraes because of PSR. PSG lead the chase. Manchester United, Arsenal are also keeping an eye. That's the 3-letter paper. Keep that information at your own peril. Spurs have joined Arsenal in the race to sign Isak, should Newcastle be forced to sell. Isak has reaffirmed his commitment to Newcastle among interest from other Premier League clubs. Newcastle will prioritize the signing of 2 central defenders when the transfer window opens following the loss of Sven Botman and Jamal Lascelles. Middlesbrough's keeper Seny Dieng is being watched by Premier League clubs Newcastle and Crystal Palace after his season in the Championship. Bologna striker Joshua Zirkzee wants to move to AC Milan despite an offer from Manchester United and interest from Arsenal and Juve. Arsenal could be set to rival Liverpool and Man City in the chase for Bayern Munich midfielder Joshua Kimmich, who's got a year left on his deal. Victor Gyökeres, high on Arsenal's list. Sporting Lisbon expect the player's release clause of €100 million to be triggered for him to leave. Calvin Phillips will have to take a major pay cut if he wants to stay at Manchester City, or to end his stay at Manchester City and stay at Leeds. West Ham will not look to make Phillips' loan spell at the club permanent. Manchester United have begun discussions about signing 23-year-old Nice defender Melvin Bard, who's pushing for a France call-up as they focus on signing a new left-back. Wolves center back Max Kilman, also in Manchester United's summer transfer shortlist. Leicester City have entered the race to sign Eddie Nketiah, but face competition from Crystal Palace and Brentford. They also face competition from their own PSR. Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United among the Premier League sides keen on Bayer Leverkusen wingback Jeremy Frimpong, available for £35 million in the summer. Newcastle also interested in Real Madrid midfielder Dani Ceballos. Forest triggering a contract extension for defender Ola Aina after his impressive debut at City Ground. Atalanta director Luca Percassi said the club have not received any offers for midfielder Teun Koopmeiners amid interest from Liverpool and Juve, and Sevilla remain interested in signing David Datro Fofana, currently on loan at Burnley, with him earmarked to replace Yusuf En-Nesyri, who looks to be sold in the summer. So that's your gossip, your rumor, and your innuendo with everything that is going on in the world. All right, reminder, once again, it is 5:30 and 7:30 today. It is the doubleheader, and it is at soccerdownhere.mixler.com. Eddie Cruz and I will have the Rome Girls, Sonora Girls match at 5:30, 7:30-ish on the network on a separate broadcast. We don't string the whole thing together and have shows in between. Pre-game, match, post-game, end of broadcast. Separate broadcast. That's when you have the boys, and it is the Calhoun boys and the Sonoraville boys at 7:30. Tomorrow, it is the Calhoun girls and the Wesleyan girls at 4 o'clock from Calhoun. Maddie and I will have that one for you live once again. Soccerdownhere.mixler.com. And there you can catch the matches after they are archived. Tomorrow, once again, 9:10, batting leadoff. It is Everton Moreira, the head coach of the U.S. national futsal squad. We'll catch up with him for a couple of minutes and find out about camp that is coming up quickly and international qualifiers and tournaments. And it's going to be great to catch up with him. Can't thank him enough for squeezing in some time before they hit the road and get to training camp. 9:30, our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring, the busiest men in show business, Greg Garza, Michael Parkhurst. We'll see who did what for the Easter holiday. 10 o'clock, it is the commissioner of NISA, John Pruch. And we got into the discussion a little bit, but reminder, once again, when 2 of your 9 franchises are in this footprint and they are experiencing different levels of trouble, we got to ask about it. And their regular season starts this weekend, starts on Saturday. And we're going to ask about Savannah Clovers and what we know about their financial situation. And we're going to ask about Georgia Lions, SCFC, which are now Georgia FC. No Lions now. It's just Georgia FC. Preston Yarneski, the newly named director of business ops. Kareem Dazer, the new sporting director once again. Coach Dazer, you might remember him from Georgia State, Dalton State, and Georgia Military College, and his activities that he does in Northwest Georgia. So they were supposed to, as Georgia Lions SC, they were supposed to be the first opponent for Apotheos in Open Cup. But that didn't happen. And so they forfeited, walkover for Apotheos, which created the matchup last night against Chattanooga Red Wolves. So we will ask about the new Georgia FC situation. And we'll ask about Savannah Clovers. We will ask about the league. We will ask about vetting. And when folks want to come into the league, what happens? That kind of thing. What the league knew about Georgia Lions SCFC, what they didn't know, what they do know about Savannah Clovers, because they are the ones paying the bills at present, according to some reports. So there's a lot to catch up with Commissioner Pruch on. It might be more of a rapid-fire interview. I think we got him for 20 minutes, and so we'll catch up with him at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and then we'll get you ready for the Weekend Whip Around. Patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully rather than later, and take you through what's going on. So it's been another busy day. Once again, thanks to Niko Moreno for coming on as he always does at 10:30. Thanks to Jason for coming on as he does on Thursdays in the 9:30 block to let you know about the very busy time that he has. She Believes Cup on Saturday afternoon. Atlanta United NYCFC Saturday night. Jason calling both. Jessica Charman calling her match and the Charlotte match, starting at 92.9 the game at noon. Then match at 12:30. Then they both get spirited to the airport so they can get to their various night games. So very, very cool stuff there. Busy day tomorrow. We'll get you ready for the weekend. As always, thanks for hanging out with us here on SDH. We have gone way over from what the fourth hung up on the wall at 11:056. So thanks again for hanging out with us. And once again, we'll see you and you'll hear us at 5:30 with the boys and girls matches on the Thursday night special here on the SDH network on the high school side. For everybody here at SDH, I'm just John Muchaplati. I'll play it safe. Since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this. And catch up with you later this afternoon. Thanks for hanging out as you always do. See you tomorrow.